Hi, Grandma Debbie here. So today we're going to make a fruit salad out of frozen fruit. Have you ever bought something that, like from the grocery store or even the craft store or whatever, and you have high hopes and then you get it home and you forget that you even have it, or you keep saying, oh, I'm going to do something with it? Well, I do that a lot. So my husband, though, he was going to start doing smoothies for breakfast. Sounds like a great idea, right? So he went and bought the fruit and everything that he would need. He made one, and then he decided it was too much work. So he hasn't made one since. And so now we have all this frozen fruit because we bought it from Costco. And you know how much fruit you get from Costco. So because we did that, we now have a ton of frozen fruit. So I'm trying to come up with some ideas of what to do with this frozen fruit. So one of the things we're going to make is a frozen fruit salad. All right, well, come along with me on this journey and let's get going on it. Okay, so I got out my scale because I want to measure out the fruit. So I'm going to measure out what I have in this bag. As I said, he started to do it, and then he stopped. So now we have all this frozen fruit. And I really truly don't know how much fruit is in here. So we're just I'm gonna put the whole bag in there and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it looks like we have 38 ounces. A little more than what we need, but that's okay. It's all really kind of, so actually it's less than what we need. All right, so I'm gonna move the scale out of the way. The recipe that I'm using calls for 64 ounces of frozen fruit. I have 38. So I'm going to cut the recipe in half and a little bit more. So I've got my frozen fruit here, and I need a spoon. And I need lemon juice. Could you imagine if I had my act together, what that would be like? Okay, so I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And I'm just using this juice that we get at the grocery store. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I'm using. As I squirt it all over my hands. Did you guys see that? Yeah, that was pretty interesting, huh? I'm going to add just a tad bit more. Okay, and then I'm going to add in 1/8 of a cup of honey. And I'm just using Kirkland brand honey, but you use whatever honey you happen to have and go with that. Now I don't have 1/8 of a cup for measuring, so I'm just going to do 1/2 of a 1/4. And of course, this honey doesn't want to come out very fast. All right, I'm going to do just a tad bit more. Okay, so then I'm going to pour the honey over. I'm going to scrape it out of the cup, out of the measuring cup. And you may be wondering, I've thought about that a couple times of saying why my measuring cups have the numbers handwritten on the bottom. They, for some unknown reason, shortly after we got them, it no longer said what the measurements kind of just disappeared. So we didn't know exactly how much we were getting on what we had, and so we decided we had to do something, and so we just wrote them out, and it works just fine. I use permanent marker. Okay, so this is really frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this, and then I'll bring you back when it thaws a little bit, and we'll stir it up some more. All right, so I will be, let me get the saran wrap, and we're going to get it covered. Oops. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this with saran wrap, and then it says to let it sit for an hour, but I'm just going to let it sit for about a half hour, and then I'm going to come back and see if it started thawing out so we can stir it a little bit more. All right, so I will bring you back in a half hour. Okay, so this has been sitting here. Let me move the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. This has been sitting here for about a half hour. And so I'm going to just stir it up a little bit more. And it's going to continue to melt. And as it melts, the honey and everything I added is going to, oh, excuse me. The honey is going to thicken up. Sorry about that cough. So we're just going to continue to let this sit here, and I'll bring you back in a little bit to show you some more of what it's doing as it continues to melt. Now, I do want to point out that you can serve this just the way it is after it's melted and you've stirred it all together, or you can add some seasoning to it, like maybe some tahini, I think that's how you say it, or some other hot sauce, whatever you want to add to it, you can add to it. Or some other seasonings, whichever you would like to do. It's up to you. Or you can just eat it this way. Maybe add some Cool Whip or yogurt or something like that on top and make it your own, however you want to serve it. All right, so we're going to let this sit here for a little bit longer. The bowl is extremely cold, and it's going to continue on melting, and I'll bring you back for that, okay? Okay, so we're going to stir this up again, and it's really starting to thaw. And as I said, the sauce will thicken up a little bit from just the frozen fruit melting. So, but it's taking a little bit of time. It's a little, I guess, chilly in my house, so that's probably why it's taking a little bit longer. So, but it's looking good. I think it's going to be great. We're not going to have dinner for probably another hour anyway, so this will be fine to just sit until we're ready to eat. So I'm going to get a spoon though, or a plate. Need a plate to rest the spoon on. Okay, so I'm going to continue to let this sit for a little bit, and then I'll show you the finished product after it's done thawing out. It's going to take some time, apparently. Like I said, my house is a little chilly, so that could be why it's not thawing out as quickly as it should be. I don't know. Who knows, right? Could be a variety of things. All right, so I'm going to continue on letting it sit here. Like I said, and I'm going to continue stirring it. It has thawed out quite a bit, but I also want to talk to you about a few other things that you can do with frozen fruit. You could also put it in tea, put a couple pieces in your tea, use it as an ice cube. It'll flavor up your tea. It'll be delicious. You could put it in water to flavor up water. Like if you drink club soda, you could put it in there and flavor it up. You can also take some of it, thaw it out, put it in a dish, mix it with some yogurt, and eat it as a little parfait. Now, another dish that I am going to be making, I'm not going to make it tonight, it'll be tomorrow or sometime, that I'm going to bring you along for, is we're going to make a fruit crumble with the frozen fruit. And that should be fun, should be interesting. And I'm sure I can't even speak. I'm sure it's going to be delicious. So, so that's what we're going to do for right now. I'm just going to let this sit, and continue on melting, and it should be just fine. All right, so I will see you in a day or so to do the fruit crumble. All right, thanks and have a great day. Okay, so pardon me. We are making the next recipe using frozen fruit. So we're going to make a frozen freezer fruit crumble. That's what we're going to make. So we're going to make the crumble right now. Then we're going to put it in the freezer and we're going to hold off onto it until later on today. And the crumble can go into the freezer for up to 6 months. That's a great idea. Make it ahead of time. You're ready to go. All right. So let's get started. Okay, so I've already cubed up my butter. You're going to use 1 cube of butter, and then now I'm going to add in 1.5 cup, or I'm sorry, I'm going to add 1 cup of flour. If I can find my flour. Okay, so 1 cup of flour. Then I'm going to add in 1/4 of a cup. I think it's 1/4 of a cup of oatmeal. I thought this had been opened and it hadn't been. And then we're going to add in 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. And I keep bread in my brown sugar. I think I've mentioned this before, but if not, I will tell you again. The reason why I keep bread in here is because it softens it up. Because don't you hate when you get brown sugar and it's all rock hard? Okay. All right, so now I'm going to add in 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. Okay, and I'm going to add in a teaspoon of cinnamon, of just ground cinnamon. And I'm going to add in a pinch of salt. And I'm using pink Himalayan salt. Okay, I'm going to kind of stir this up a little bit. All right, now I'm going to add in the butter. And I'm actually going to use you can use your fingers if you want. I'm not going to. I'm going to use instead a potato masher. You can also use a pastry masher if you happen to have one. I do not have one. But this is where you're going to really need some muscles because you want it to be crumbly. Whoa. As I make a huge mess. Maybe don't follow my steps. Well, you know what? I am going to just stick my hands in there because this is just getting to be too hard to do. Now, the nice thing about crumbles is that you can serve it with ice cream. You can serve it with Cool Whip. You can just eat it plain. You can make some cream. You can do all kinds of things with it. It's up to you. In there and get this going. And you want to do this until it looks kind of like little pebbles or little peas or You want to make for sure that the butter is all broken up. And you want to make for sure your butter is cold, because if it wasn't cold, you would just be having a huge mess right now with trying to get it all mixed in. Now you don't have to use oatmeal. You can just use straight flour instead. But I like to have a little bit of oatmeal in here. It gives it just a little more texture and flavors it just a tad bit. Should have taken off my bracelet. Okay, so it's pretty well crumbled up. So I'm going to wash my hands. Then I'm going to cover this with some saran wrap, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer for about 6 hours, and then I'll bake it. But once it, like I said, you can also put this in a Ziploc container and leave it in the freezer for about 6 months. All right, let me wash my hands and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is going to sit in the freezer for a couple hours, like I said, about 6 hours, and then I'll pull it out and I'll finish up the rest. But once again, you can leave this in the freezer for up to 6 months if that's what you want to do. It's completely up to you. You know, maybe you're planning on a big party and you want to make fruit crumble for the party, and you want to have all the topping ready to go, and so it's one less step that you have to do. It's up to you. All right, so I will bring you back in a couple hours. Okay, so it's been several hours since I made the crumble topping, so we're going to now finish it up. So come along with me and let's get going on this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spray cooking spray in our pan. And then I'm going to move this off to the side. Okay, also I am currently preheating my oven to 375. All right, so we're going to get going. So we're going to add the fruit. You're going to do 8 cups of frozen fruit. As you can tell, it's really frozen. Now I've been trying to separate it a little bit, so it's not as bad. I did cut up the strawberries a little bit because they were ginormous. So I'm just going to kind of mix this up a little bit. So the strawberries and everything is all mixed in. Okay, so we're going to add Okay, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And this is where I usually end up covered in whatever, because cornstarch is so light. Okay, and then we're going to add 3/4 cup of sugar. You're just going to use granulated sugar at this point. Okay, and then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of, it calls for fresh lemon juice. I don't have any lemons, so I'm just using this lemon juice. And then we're adding in 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I'm using the, what did I do with it? Oh, I didn't get it out. I'm using, at this point my battery died on my microphone, and so I'm just going to kind of walk you through it. So I added some melted butter. I believe it was 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and I'm stirring it all up in there, and then I'm going to be adding it to the pan. to bake and put the crumble on top. So I'm just mixing it up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now I'm just pouring it into the pan and getting it ready to go into the oven. And I'm going to be spreading it out. And I'm using I believe that is a 9x11 pan that I'm using. It's a casserole dish. And I'm just spreading it out. I'm trying to get it all even at this point. The strawberries were still huge, and there were a couple of other pieces that were very large. And I'm just trying to get them all spread out so that it cooks evenly. And I'm also doing this. This fruit is still frozen. So, but that's what I'm doing. And now I'm going to go get the crumble, and we will be spreading it over the top. And I got it out of the freezer. I just took it straight from the freezer. And then you're just going to dump it, kind of spread it out a little bit. I should have probably taken it out of the freezer a little sooner because it was frozen solid. But you just want to kind of spread it out evenly over the top. Now, the one thing that I will tell you is that my husband felt like there wasn't enough crumble on here. So the next time I make it, I'm going to double up the crumble so that there is more of it on there. And so that's what I'm doing right now. And it's looking really good. It smelled delicious. The bowl was freezing cold because, like I said, I just got out of the freezer. And it's a glass bowl. And I'm trying to get it all crumbled up there in my hands. And then I'm going to spread it all out. You know, these kinds of things are really fun. You can also do this with the kids. Kids love to get their hands into these kinds of things. So, you know, let them do this with you. If you have some little ones, let them crumble up this and put it on top. I mean, what's it going to hurt? Their hands might get a little cold, but that's about it. And, you know, let them help you. I'm sure that they would love to do this. Who doesn't like playing with, you know, crumbles? Almost like sand, you know? Who doesn't? Okay, so that's where we're at right now. It's going to go into the oven, and it's going to cook for 60 minutes. Okay, so I got it out of the oven. It's all bubbly and hot and brown and crispy and everything. So now it has to sit for an additional half hour, and then it'll be ready to serve. You can serve this, like I've said before, you can serve this with ice cream or Cool Whip, or you can just eat it plain. It's up to you, whichever you want to do. So, but it looks delicious. Can't wait to dip into it. So after I recorded the end part of my video, I realized that my battery died and none of it took. So here I am the next day, and I'm going to give you a recap on the fruit crumble that I made. We had it after dinner for dessert. Well, my husband actually ate it before dinner. He was sitting there just enjoying it. So, oh well. Who said you have to have dessert after dinner, right? You can have it whenever you want. So it was really good. The only thing I would do differently is I would make more crumble. My husband likes more crumble, and there just wasn't enough. So he would want more. So next time I go to make this recipe, I'm going to double up on the crumble. But I just hope that I gave you some ideas on what to do with frozen fruit, and give you, just a few ideas if you don't want to make smoothies. And, maybe you have some other ideas. Let me know. All right. Well, I hope that you had a great day and that everything's going well for you. And hit that like, hit the subscribe, and hit the share button. And I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.